Go.
Hey guys, Aaron with Grandpa Ray's. So we've done the composting, and as we discussed, if you want to use the compost and just apply that to your garden, your food plot, your field, the rate is a ton of compost per acre. So as we extrapolate that out, that is a lot of compost, a lot of hauling to get that stuff out there. Now, if our goal is that we're using the compost to grow biology and we want to get the biology on that land, what we can do is we can take that compost and we can actually extract the biology out of the compost. So by extracting the biology, we reduce the size and the amount of stuff we need to spread because we're taking the stuff that we want out of the compost, putting it into water, and then we can apply it. And there's different levels that you can do that too. So if we do an extract, we're actually going to take some compost and we're going to put it either in a brewer or on a smaller scale. One thing for any of this stuff, it can be done a lot of times with what you've got laying around. So we've got a pretty expensive brewer here that we use because we're going a little bit more large scale. But in a personal use situation, a 5-gallon bucket that you hand massage the compost in, you could get the same results on a smaller scale as we're getting with the brewer at a little bit larger scale. So a couple things to remember. Same thing with compost when you're talking about extracts or you're talking about teas. We have to make sure that we keep everything aerobic. We have to have oxygen in the system. If we're going to create an extract and let it sit in a bucket for 9 days, we're not going to be happy with the results because we're killing all the good biology and we're replacing it with the bad biology because we've turned an aerobic environment into an anaerobic environment, and that oxygen level has went below the 6 parts per million, and a whole new set of bacteria is going to start growing, and those bacteria are not friendly to plants like the ones that are above 6 part per million oxygen are. So we want to make sure that whether we're composting, transporting extract, transporting tea, that we're time sensitive and understand that the oxygen level needs to be maintained above that 6 parts per million in order that we have good bacteria, good fungal biomass going on. So this is a 60-gallon brewer. I can brew 60 gallons at a time. And what we do is we have this 400 micron bag that I've taken some Johnson Soup compost. I do 2 pounds per 20 gallons. And we're going to do 40 gallons today. So I've got 4 pounds of compost in this bag. The 400 microns perfect. It's going to allow the fungal colony through. It's going to allow nematodes. It's going to allow the amoebas and the bacteria through there. But it's going to hold in the other material that we don't want in there that'll get clogged up in our sprayers and will cause issues. So before we brew, a couple things to talk about. I'm on well water out here. Well water, I'm not as concerned, but if you are in a situation where you're on city water is going to be treated with either chlorine or chloramine. Both of those are antibiotics. So if we're trying to grow biology, we do not want antibiotics in our water. There's a couple things you can do. Both of them will convert to a gas under agitation. So you could plug your brewer in and you could let it run 40 minutes to an hour just to agitate the water and have that chlorine or chloramine turn into a gas and evaporate off. The other thing that you can do is you can add humic acid. And we've talked about humic acid before and its chelating properties. Here's another situation where we can take advantage of that. We can add a teaspoon per 20 gallons of humic acid into our brewer and watch the watercolor. When you add the humic acid, the water's going to turn that 77% cocoa color, and you just watch it. Once that water turns clear, you know that you've got rid of all the chlorine or chloramine in that. If there's still a little tinge to there, then you want to add a little bit more until that clears up. Now, we're on well water out here, so I'm okay with going ahead with just the well water and brewing. So in an extract, we are taking the 6 pounds or 4 pounds of compost, and we're going to hang it inside the brewer like so. Clip it off. And then you can already see that some of the stuff is coming out into the water. Now, an extract is going to be some humic, fulvic acids, and your biology. And extracts are used for the soil. So I could take and do a drip into a soil, a drench, which is just basically putting it on heavy so it soaks into the ground, or an injection. I've got my no-till corn planter set up that I've got a sprayer on it, so I can actually knife in the biology as if I was planting corn, but doing the biology instead at the same time. So rates on extract is 2 to 20 gallons per acre. And again, it all starts, your extract is going to be, the quality of the extract is going to be the quality of the compost. And again, we are always monitoring with the microscope, what do we have? If I'm shooting for a 1 to 3 bacteria fungal biomass, I want to make sure I'm applying a 1 to 3. If I'm planting row crops and I want a 1 to 1 bacteria to fungal biomass, I should be applying a 1 to 1 unless I'm in a situation where the soil test that I looked under the microscope showed me that my bacterial biomass was already where I wanted it and it was good bacteria. Then I'm on a heavy fungal dominated tea. So everything's got to be in relation to what is my goal and what is my start period. So we've got the bag in there, and at the end of the video I'll turn this on so you guys can see it. But I want to move on to teas now. So if you have an extract and you want to brew a tea, you have the extract that's got the biology in it. So the water's there, the biology's in the water. So a tea is taking that extract and we feed the microbes that are in the extract. So we're actually going to be applying food to it and then letting this run, and the bacteria is going to be eating that food and multiplying. And that's going to give us a heavier concentration of microbes in there that then teas are used in a foiler setting. So extracts are for the soil, teas are for foiler applications. And what we're doing with that foiler application is we're taking this biological setting and we're spraying it over top of the green foliage and creating a layer of protection. We're creating that castle wall of good bacteria, good fungus. And when we create that protection layer, when we have a spore of a disease-causing agent come or an insect come in, we've got that line of defense there then. And that line of defense will be the castle wall that can protect that plant. Some bacteria in there might actually consume it or repel it or whatever it's going to do to keep that negative biology or insect from damaging our plants. So if you create that castle wall by applying the teas to the foiler. So again, extracts 2 to 20 gallons depending on what your final goal is. Teas, we're going 1 gallon to the acre. So I can do 60 acres off of one brew that I make here. So I talked about we add food. Well, what kind of foods can you add? Well, we've talked when we did the soil pit seminar that humic acids are good food for microbiology. So humic acids are good. Blackstrap molasses is another good agent to add. And liquid fish. And it's exactly what it says it is. It's liquefied fish. But you add these to the tank, and as it's brewing, that biology is multiplying. Bacteria multiply very fast. And as we talked about before, when bacteria are growing and they're young, they're super sticky. And we take advantage of that when we take the tea and we foliar apply it. So when we're spraying, that biology is coming out of that sprayer, and as soon as it comes in contact with that foliage, it's sticking right to it. It's setting up shop, it's building that brick wall, it's forming that protective layer for that plant. So we've got our extracts, we've got our teas, both using the compost that we've created. When I brew my tea, the teas can take about 24 hours to get the best result you're going to get. And then what you're going to see is as they age, the numbers are going to go down. Again, pulling samples, looking at under the microscope, making sure that you're watching till you get to that level that you want to be at. Once you get to where you want to be, you're harvesting, and you've got a time window to apply that now. With the teas, we don't want to be storing this stuff for long periods of time. 24 hours is kind of my golden time, and sometimes I hate to go beyond 24 hours. If you're aerating the system, you can go a little longer, but as we let it sit, it's going to get anaerobic over time, and we're going to see that switch from good bacteria to bad bacteria. So we want to make sure that we don't do that. Same with the extracts. The extracts also cannot be stored for long periods of time. So the one drawback I would say to making the biology is you have to have a game plan, and you have to be ready to use the biology as soon as you get done either making your extract or your tea. So what I'm going to do is I'll turn this on so you guys can kind of get a look at. We want to bring the water to a boil. We don't want water splashing out, but we want enough force that is pulling that sticky bacteria and running those amoebas and nematodes out of that compost and putting it in the water. It takes about 30 pounds per square inch of pressure to get those released off of the compost material. So I will fire this up, and we can all I'll dial it in so we can get a look at what we have going on here, and everyone can see it in action. So as you can see, it's aerating the water, it's pushing that water through that bag, it's extracting the biology out of there. And we're gonna let this run for about 20 minutes. I'll take a sample, I'll run down to the lab, I'll look at it through a microscope, I'll decide if it's where I want to be yet. If it's where I want to be, I'll apply this right away. If I feel I need to add another compost to it to balance the biology, I'll do that. But it's a constant game of checking to make sure that you got what you need. I hope this gave you a little insight into what you can do with the compost in order to make it usable. And we'll keep you updated on different teas that we've got and different programs that we're doing. Aaron with Grandpa Ray's.